Hi everyone. Let's talk about angles and turns. Our first essential question that we're going to talk about today is how do I use angles to show turns? And so our very first little note here talks about that. It tells us that angles are what we use to record turns. So you can look at my little sample here. This shows an angle. The space right in between these two lines is what we're talking about, the angle. And so what we want to do is we want to go ahead and label these as sides and this as a vertex. And that's going to help us understand our angle better. So this is a side, this is a side, and this little point right there in the middle is the vertex. The sides can be moved to create different kinds of angles. Let's take a look at an example of that. So I have two sides right here that are hooked basically together right now. But I can take them and I can move it either clockwise or I can move it counterclockwise to create different angles. The first angle we're going to take a look at today is clockwise. When we create an angle using a clockwise movement, we are going to move around like we do in a clock. So we're going to put on here that a clockwise movement goes around like a clock. So if we were looking at my example, we'd be taking it and we'd be moving it around as though we were watching a clock hands and how it moves around the clock this way. We have three little sides here, and we're going to add another side to it. Let's start by adding a side that comes straight out, similar to the one we saw up above. Now I created this angle by starting at this side that's on here, and I moved in this direction. So I started with it just like this one, and I moved in the clockwise direction. Now I need to identify that angle, the way I moved, based on how far around the circle it went. I could imagine some different lines on my little angle here to help me understand how far it went. So if I could picture that there were, if I divide this right in half this way, and I divide it right in half this way, I come up with 4 different quadrants. I want you to think of money and how we have 4 quarters in a money. Well, in our circle we have 4 quadrants. And so if I go through this first part, I have my first quarter. So it's like having 1/4 of something. Okay? If I had 2 of these, I would have 2/4. Or I could say that I had 1/2. If I had all 3 of these, I'd have 3/4. Just like in a dollar, you'd have the 3/4, which equals 75 cents. But we're not worried about the 75 cents. We're just talking about the 3/4. And then if I came all the way around, I'd have 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters, or I'd have a whole. Just as in money, we'd have 4 quarters equals 1 whole dollar. That's what we're thinking about. So in our example, we saw that we moved from here over this direction. And we only moved it through the 1 quadrant, so we moved it 1/4 of a turn. So on our paper, we could say that we had a quarter turn clockwise. Quarter turn that was clockwise. So we're going to write that right here. 1/4 turn clockwise, because it went the same direction as a clock. On our next one, we're going to draw the second side straight down like this. We would have gotten there by taking the line, the side, and going all the way around this way. So let's take a look at our example on the other page. So this time, we're taking this little side, and instead of just going through the 1/4, we're going all the way down here. So because of that, we went all the way down here. So we went through 2 quarters Or we could also say it was 1/2 turn clockwise. So let's write that on our paper. 1/2 turn clockwise. Okay, I'm going to give you a chance to try this next one. What if I drew it over this direction and we went around this way? What would it be? Go ahead and pause the video and answer this one, and then we will see how you did. Okay, so how did you do? If you said it was 3/4 turn clockwise, you were correct. Because we went around 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. Good job. Okay, on our next one, let's take a look at what happens if we go the opposite direction. So now, instead of going clockwise around, we're going to go the opposite direction. We're going to go this way. When we do that, we are actually going counterclockwise. Counter meaning the opposite of clockwise. On this one, we also still have the different quadrants, only this time, instead of this being 1/4 of the way around, we're going this way. So this is now 1/4 of the way around, or 1/4 turn clockwise. This would be 2/4 turn, or, that's right, 1/2 of the way around. This quadrant would be 3/4. And if we came up to the top all the way around this way, we would end up with 4/4. It's just backwards, or opposite of what we just did. So let's go back to our page and take a look at what we're going to write here. So counterclockwise is the opposite of a clock. Counterclockwise is the opposite of a clock. It goes backwards. So if we put our line over this way, and we went from the angle is going this direction this time, so it starts at the side and goes to this side, we are now going counterclockwise. So let's take a look at our little example. So if we go this way, we're going counterclockwise. We're going all the way down. So we're going counterclockwise 1/4 turn. So we'll say it's 1/4 turn counterclockwise. Okay, what do you think is going to happen on this next one if we do one going straight down like this? We're going counterclockwise. How much of a turn are we going? If you said 1/2 turn, you were correct. Let's take a look at that. So on the first one, we went 1/4 turn. But if we keep going around, we would go all the way this way, which would mean we'd extend it, and we'd go all the way to here, which means we'd be 1/2 of the way around. So that would be 1/2 turn counterclockwise. Okay, I'm going to let you try one by yourself. Draw your angle like this, starting here, going around this way. Go ahead and pause the video and figure it out. Okay, how did you do? If you said 3/4 turn counterclockwise, you were correct, because we went all the way around again, kind of like we did in our last example, only this time we continued it one more time to make it 3/4 of the way around. All right, go ahead and turn to the back of your page, and we'll just have you do a couple practice ones. On this first one, you are going to do a 1/2 turn clockwise. The second one is going to be 1/4 turn counterclockwise. And your last one is going to be 3/4 turn counterclockwise. Make sure when you're doing this that you show me your side and you show me which direction you went with an arrow. For the bottom 3, you just need to label what kind of turn it was. You can see this one goes here, the second one goes this direction, and the third one goes around this way. When you're finished with that, make sure you go back and write your 2 questions and your summary. Have a great night.